Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we continue to read Bhagavad-Gita, as it is book written by His Glorious Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And today we will read 9 verses, verse 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 14, and 41. Let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 4, verse 34. Padvidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya padakshanti te jnanam jnananinas tattvadarshinah. Translation. Just try to learn the trust by approaching the spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impact and impart knowledge into you because they have seen the truth. Report. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord, therefore, advises us to approach bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can spiritually realize it by manufacturing his own process and as the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead on to the right path. Nor by independent study of books or of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination of spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquires from learned learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries the condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission, answers, and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So next verse. Yajnatvanna punar moham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutani eshashani darkshashi atmani athomai. Translation. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into coach illusion. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words that they are mine. Purport. The result of receiving knowledge from the self-realized soul, or one who knows things as they are, is learning that all living beings are parts and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. The sense of an existence separated from Krishna is called Maya. Ma, not ya, this. Maya, not this. Something that we have nothing to do with Krishna, that Krishna is only a great historical personality, and that the Absolute is impersonal Brahman. Factually, as it is stated in the Bhagavad-Gita, this impersonal Brahman is a person. This impersonal Brahman is the personal effulgence of Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of everything. In the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, and the millions of incarnations are only his different expan expan expansions. Similarly, the living entities are also expansions of Krishna. The Mayavadi philosophers wrongly think that Krishna loves his own separated existence in his many explanations. This thought is material in nature. We have experience in the material world that a living then fragmentally distributed lost its own original identity. But the Mayavadi philosophers fail to understand that absolute means that 1 plus 1 is equal to 1, and that 1 minus 1 is also equal to 1. This is the cause in the absolute world. For want of sufficient knowledge in the absolute science, we are now covered with illusion, and therefore we think that we are separated from Krishna. Also, we are separated part of Krishna, we are nevertheless no different from him. The bodily difference of the living entities is Maya, or not actual fact. Where all means to satisfy Krishna. By Maya alone, Arjuna thought, thought that the temporary bodily relationship with his kinsman was more important than his eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. The whole teaching of the Gita is targeted toward this end, that a living being is Krishna's eternal Sator cannot be separated from Krishna, and his sense of being and identity apart from Krishna is called Maya. The living entities are separated parts and parcels of Supreme have a purpose to fulfill. Having forgotten that purpose, since time immemorial, they are situated in different bodies, as men, animals, demigods, etc. Such bodily difference arises from forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. But when one is engaged in transcendental service towards Krishna consciousness, one becomes at once liberated from this illusion. One can acquire such pure knowledge only from the bona fide spiritual master, and thereby avoid the delusion that the living entity is equal to Krishna. Perfect knowledge is that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the supreme shelter for all living entities, and giving up such shelter, the living entities are deluded by the material energy, imagining themselves to have a separated identity. So, thus, under different standards of material identity, they become forgetful of Krishna. When, however, such deluded living entities become situated in Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that they are on the path of liberation, as confirmed in the Bhagavad-Gita. Muktir vidvanyadha rupam svarupena vyavastitih. Liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Krishna consciousness. Next verse. Apisid asi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakritamah sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. Translation. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the board of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. Purport. A proper understanding of one's constitutional position in relationship to Krishna is so nice that it can to once lift one from the struggle for existence which goes on in the ocean of nescience. This material world is sometimes regarded as an ocean of nescience, and sometimes as ocean of nescience, and sometimes as a blazing forest. In the ocean, however expert a swimmer one may be, the struggle for existence is very severe. If someone comes forward and lifts the struggling swimmer from the ocean, he is the greatest, 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 great, greatest sailor. Perfect knowledge Perfect knowledge, researched from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the path of liberation. The birth of Krishna consciousness is very simple, but at the same time the most sublime. Next verse. Yadhai Yadhai Dhamasi Samitho Gnir Hasma Satkurute Arjuna Jnanagni Saro Karmani Hasma Satkurute Tatham. Translation. As a blazing fire turned fired to ashes, Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes or reactions to material activities. Purport. Perfect knowledge of self and super self and of their relationship is compared herein to fire. This fire not only burns up burns up all reactions to impious activities, but also all reactions to pious activities, turning them to ashes. There are many stages of reactions. Reaction in the making, reactions for fructifying, reactions already achieved, and reactions a priori. But knowledge of the constitutional position of the living entity burns everything to ashes. When one is in complete knowledge, all reactions, both uh, both priori and posteriori, uh, consent. consent. In the Vedas, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, is stated, uh, Abhe Uhaivasha ete taratu amritaks tat ashad asadhuni. One overcomes both the the pious and impure reactions of work. Next verse. Nahi ajnana sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddhah kalena mani vindati. Translation. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is an mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within themselves in due course of time. Purport. Purport. When we speak of transcendental knowledge, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. This knowledge is a mature fruit of devotional service, and when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace as else el- elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness. That is the last words in the Bhagavad-Gita. Next verse. Sradha Sradhavalabhate Jnanam Tat Parah Samyatendriya Jnanam Labhva Param Santim Achirenadhim Gachati. Translation. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues these senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and being achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Purport. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who um, believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without daily. Next verse. Ajnas sa Ajnas cha sratharascha samya samsayat mavina shyati nayam lokosti na paro nakuk nasukham samsayat manah. Translation. But ignorant and faithless person who adopt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fell down. For the doubting soul there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. Oh, yeah. Purport. Out of many standard and authoritative re- revealed scriptures, the Bhagavad-Gita is the best. Persons who are almost like animals have no faith in or knowledge of the standard uh, revealed scriptures. At some even though they have knowledge of or can cite passage from the revealed scriptures have actually to faith in these words. And though others may have faith in scriptures like Bhagavad-Gita, they do not believe in or worship the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Such persons cannot have any standing in Krishna consciousness. They fell down. Out of all the above mentioned persons, those who have no faith and are always doubtful make not progress at all. Men without faith in God and His revealed, without find no God in this world or in the next, nor in the next. For then there is no happiness whatsoever. One should therefore follow the principles of revealed scriptures with faith and thereby be raised to the platform of knowledge. Only this knowledge will help one become promoted to the transcendental platform of spiritual understanding. In other words, doubtful persons have no status whatsoever in spiritual emancipation. One should therefore follow in the footsteps of great acharyas who are who are in the disciplic succession and thereby attain success. Oh, next verse. 41. Yagasanyasta karmanam jnanasam chinasam sayam atmavan atmavantam nakarmani vibat nanti dhananjayam. Translation. Translation. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his reactions, and those doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work or conquer of riches. One who acts in devotional service, announcing the fruits of his reactions. Report. One who follows the instructions of Bhagavad-Gita as it is imparted by the Lord, the personality of God himself becomes free from all doubts by the grace of transcendental knowledge. He, as a part and parcel of the Lord, in full Krishna consciousness, is already established in the self-knowledge. As such, he is undoubtedly above bondage to action. Next verse. Yeah, we will read today one more verse, and this verse will last for today. Tasmad ajnana sambhutam hritstham jnana sinat manah chitvainam sayam yogam atisthotishtha bharata. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga or bharata, stand and fight. Armed with yoga or bharata, stand and fight. Report. The yoga system instructed in this chapter is called Sanatana Yoga, or eternal activities performed by the living entity. This yoga has two divisions of satisfaction actions. One is called satisfies of one's material possessions, and the other is called knowledge of self, which is pure spiritual activity. If satisfies of one's material possession is not detailed for spiritual realization, then such satisfies becomes material. But one who performs such satisfies, which a spiritual objective or in devotional service makes a perfect satisfies. When we come to spiritual activities, we find that these are also divided into two, namely understanding of one's own self or one's constitutional position, and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who follows uh, the path of Bhagavad-Gita as it is can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. For him, there is no difficult, difficulty, difficult, difficulty, difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge of the self as part and parcel of Lord, and such understanding is beneficial, for such a person can easily understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. In the beginning of this chapter, the transcendental activities of the Lord, the discussed by the Supreme Lord Himself. One who does not understand understand the instructions of the Gita is faith. The instructions of the Bhagavad-Gita is faithless and is to be considered to be mis missing missing the fragmental understand independence awarded to him by the Lord. In spite of such instructions, one who does not understand the real nature of the Lord as the eternal, blissful, all-knowing personality of Godhead is certainly fool number one. Fool number one. Who does not understand the real nature of the Lord as eternal is certainly fool number one. Ignorance can be removed by gradual acceptance of the principles of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is awakened by different types of satisfaction of sacrifices to the demigods, sacrifice to Brahman, sacrifice in celibacy in household life, in controlling the senses, in practicing mystic yoga, in penance, in forgetting material possession, in studying the Vedas, and in partaking of the social inst- institution called Varnashrama Dharma. All of these are known as sacrifice, and all of them are based on regulated action. But within all these activities, the important factor is self-realization. One who seeks that objective is a real student of Bhagavad-Gita, but one who adopts the authority of Krishna falls, falls back. One who seeks that object is a real student of Bhagavad Gita, but one who adopts the authority of Krishna fell back. One is therefore advised to study advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under a bona fide spiritual master, which serves and surrender. A bona fide spiritual master is in the disciplic succession from time eternal, and he does not divide at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the Sun God from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita himself, in the Gita itself, and beware of self-interests people after personal arga, ar, um, aggrandizement are aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the Supreme Person, and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of the study of Bhagavad Gita. So that thus end thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the fourth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of transcendental knowledge. So we read a very interesting verses today. Krishna says on the different verse that we have to study this transcendental knowledge if we want to become free from our karma, if we want to become free and to understand who is the Lord. We have to study. We have to study this transcendental knowledge and and we have to following to a spiritual a bona fide spiritual master. If we want to understand this um, spiritual knowledge, we have to take shelter to the bona fide spiritual master and doing his instructions for us. And by weapons of knowledge, we can to we can to hard done. Yeah, we by weapon of knowledge of this transcendental knowledge, we can to cut down the our we can to cut down our ignorance. So this means that we have to study, we have to read this book, Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, every day, and I think that we will continue this reading on the next year. So that is all for today. Thank you for watching this video till the end, and see you on the next time. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.